All right. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Insurance Lounge with me, Tanya.
And me, Christy?
We are your local insurance agent in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we are here to make insurance a little less boring and way more helpful for you. Our goal is to share with you what we know so that you can feel more confident about how you can better protect your home, your family, your business, and most certainly your future. So, with that said, Christy, would you do the honor and kick off the topic for this week?
Sure thing. So today it's a big one, right, Tanya? What to do in case of an auto accident.
Oh,
In that heat of the moment, you're flustered and frustrated maybe when something has happened, but accidents do happen. And so we're going to dig down deep in here and give you a step by step so that you can, handle it with a little less stress in the event of an accident.
yes, absolutely. So let's start with the basic again, right, Christy? Is safety first.
First thing, absolutely. Are you okay? Are
Are
any
you,
passengers in the car okay? Do you need to call emergency services or do you just need to
absolutely.
call the police?
Yep, absolutely. And if everybody is okay, are you in a safe spot?
Yeah.
So just be mindful of that, guys, especially if you get into an accident during rush hours, right? Heavy traffic. If you're
High
on the
traffic, low
highway,
light.
low
Yeah.
lights, yep. Just make sure you pull over and you're not on a busy highway. You don't want to get into another situation and get hurt, right? If there's a lot of cars on the a highway at that moment, like Christy mentioned, if it's a little dark out, just pull over when there's a little street lights or a parking lot when you are safe and away from other cars and away from the dark.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the thing that's most important first, guys. In an accident like that, there's no rush. No one is rushing you to, figure this out. So just make
Yeah.
sure that you, your car, and your passengers are safe. And
Yeah.
then the second step would be, Christy.
Call the police, right? Call 911. 911 is probably the easiest thing to remember rather than any local non-emergency number, and it's fine to just call 911 even if nobody's hurt. Most states do require you to report an accident. So get somebody out there to take a look at the situation. Call them first before you get out of your car and start doing anything else. Get the police on the way, right, Tanya?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And if the dispatcher is asking you if anyone is injured at the scene, you know what, guys, it's an accident. Even if no one's injured in your car, you don't know what's going on in the other vehicle, and they might need emergency services. I say it's safe to say, I'm not quite sure, officer. Can you send somebody else to help us? And that will
Right.
be the best thing. And we can dive into a little bit more as to why we highly encourage this, not only because is required by the state. But in certain cases, if there are witnesses on the scene that you want their statement to be taken by the police, that will help
Mhm.
as well. In cases where it's more cut and dry, like let's say somebody rear-ended you on the highway, but again, like with accident, we just never know, guys. So we highly, highly encourage you to properly document that with the police department. Typically, they'll send out an officer to the scene to talk to the
Mhm.
other party, to talk to you. They'll gather all your personal information, anyways. They'll gather your insurance information, and you get to tell them your side of the story, and they're going to
Right.
record that at that time, right then and there. If there's a witness that, let's say you were not in at fault for this accident, and the witness can corroborate your story, make sure you see if that witness will be willing to stick around to
Ask them
talk
to
to the
stay.
police.
Right. Yeah.
Yep, or ask them for their contact information in case, if the police is not there and they have to go, you can reach out to them at a later date, things like that. We
Yep.
highly recommend call 911, get someone to come out to the scene, or file the incident report over the phone with the police department. And then last thing I will say on this one is that typically when that is done, you will be provided with a case number. So we recommend hang on to that card and
Right.
it typically tells you the police officer's name of who
Right.
helped you with that and which police department, because you will be the person that you can call and you can get a copy of that.
Yep. And I recommend to people always get a copy of that report, even if your claims, process is cut and dried, or even, there is no claim or what have you. That's information that's going to go on your motor vehicle record. You want to get a copy of that report and make sure that it says what you expected it to say. That the officer didn't make a mistake even in jotting something down. Always get a copy of that police report. Whether you need it for a claim or not, just get it for your own records and make sure, like I'm saying, that it says it accurately reflects what you think happened.
Absolutely, Chrissy. That is a very smart advice because a lot of time too, right? A client will be
I
very
mean,
surprised with what is said on
yeah,
the police report versus what actually happened, and they
yeah.
had to get that rectified.
The other party can, make claims that, aren't what actually happened. Um, and like I said, police officers are people too. They can just make mistakes. So it's just really important to grab it. And usually takes 5 to 7 business days, right? You're not going to get it immediately, but make sure you follow up and call and get that report.
Yes, absolutely. And if you have that claim number, and even if you don't have the police report yet in hand, guys, you can always provide that to your insurance company if you do
Right.
decide to go through a claim for the accident.
Right.
And then that brings us to number three, Christy, and that is
Document, 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 right?
document everything. All right, guys, now it's time for you to really pull out your smartphone and turn on that camera, and make sure you record everything, right?
Yeah.
So take photos of the damages on your car, on their car. If you
Mhm.
can take photos of the position of the vehicles, if you know you're right
Yes.
then and
Yeah.
there, that will be helpful. Um, a video would help too. It kind of add a little bit more context to it. Now, we want to tell you this with caution, though, right? Like when you are documenting this and interacting with the other party, Christy, if it's friendly,
Yeah,
then
right.
yes.
Yes. If not, stay in your car, wait for the police to get there, and they will get, all of the pertinent personal information. You can document the damages to your own car. I definitely don't want anybody to get into any kind of contentious, roadside situations. People get funny and people get angry. So if it doesn't feel like you're safe to interact with the other person, then you don't have to do that. But if it's friendly enough, yeah, you can get their insurance card. You can ask for their driver's license. You do want to be able to adequately identify the person because the person driving the car, like you said earlier, Tanya, might not be the person who has the insurance. So you can ask for the driver's license. Personally, I would be a little bit reluctant to give my driver's license to somebody, but I'm going to give it to the police. So just recognize that that's their option whether to give you that piece of information or not. You're going to be able to get it anyway when you get the police report.
Well, if it's a mutual exchange, right, we can also absolutely ask for the insurance card.
Absolutely.
And that's going to come into play a little bit later when you talk to your insurance agent about it, right?
Hmm.
You also want to, the insurance card will also have the VIN number for the vehicle as well.
That's right. Yep.
So that will help. Um, I don't think the license plate is necessarily pertinent when it comes to insurance. I mean, you could have that, and I mean, you might want that if it's a hit and runs kind of deal,
Sure. Yeah.
especially in those
Yeah.
situation. And let's talk about, because obviously we cannot document anything, and besides recording who hit you and starting to take off, there's really no way to document anything in case of a hit and run, Christy. But we do have some safety tip for our audience here today, right? So if in a case
Right.
like that, somebody rear-ends you on the freeway and just continue to drive and take off. Your car is drivable, you're not hurt. What are some recommendation that we have for our customers?
Yeah. Well, again, first, just get to safety. Make sure you're in a spot where it's safe to get out of your car. I threw my pen. Sorry. um, and so that you can document the damage. If you can get, that video of a fleeing vehicle, right? you got to be careful about that, right? We don't want you using your phone while you're driving, but if you have a
Mhm.
dash cam, that's certainly going to be helpful and something that, more and more these days, I think more people have them, but certainly something that's recommended more and more these days because of situations like a hit and run.
Yep.
Um,
And we don't recommend anyone to be chasing down that car.
no, no.
Just to be safe, guys, because we really don't know who we're dealing with, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we just want to make sure you're safe. So yes, document everything that you can. If the situation is calm and friendly, that's fine. It's okay to, take lots of photos and pictures of your damaged car if you
right.
so wish. That will help.
Position, location, all of that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Yes. And then taking photos of the time of the accident too will also help you document the time, the date, and everything else. Because we know that when an accident happened, you know, everyone is passionate, everyone is a little
Emotions are high.
nervous.
Yep, yep.
Yes, tension is high. So, technology can really come in and help us and save us a lot of headaches, really. Like Christy mentioned the dash cam, with a lot of Tesla now, a lot of all their cars have cameras and they record everything. Now, if
Yep.
you happen to have a car like mine that don't have that kind of stuff,
Right. I don't have a
that's
Tesla.
okay, right? That's okay. I think these dash cam now are super, super affordable. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them at Walmart, Target. They're all over the
Yeah.
place, guys.
Fairly easy to install and easy to use. Yeah, and it's not a bad idea at all to invest a little bit of money in that.
Yeah, absolutely not. And then last thing, Chrissy, now that we got the police out, we got all the information, the police case number, the photos. What's the last step now that
What do
we
we
got to
always
do?
say? Call your agent.
Call your
Call your
agent,
agent.
guys.
I never cease to be surprised at the number of people though who think, and I'm happy for them to call me, of course, but they'll call me and say, I had an accident, I need to file a claim. And then as I start talking to them, I'm like, wait, wait, wait. That's the other person is at fault there. This does not sound to me like it's your fault. You don't want to file this on your policy. You want to file with the other, the other driver's company. You keep your claim record, free and clear as much as you can to avoid any, future surcharges or rate increases on your policy down the road. So if it's
Yeah,
the other person's fault, especially if they've been ticketed by the police, if they've been cited at all, if the police made note in the police report that they seemed to be at fault, that's a pretty clear indicator you're going to want to file with them and keep it off of your own insurance. Now, I also always tell
absolutely.
people, if you have trouble that way, if you're not getting, good response from the claims department, you can always come back to your own agent and your own carrier if you need to, and they can
Mhm.
do the subrogation for you. They can go out for those non-insurance folks out there. That means they'll go after that other person's policy, to get the money. But first step always, I think, is file on the policy of the person who's actually at fault. It's going to be faster. You're going to avoid having to pay your deductible up front and then try to get it back. So a lot of reasons really it's better to go that way.
Absolutely. And we say, call your agent for a reason because you want to be able to, have someone to talk to and guide you in that kind of way, and also keep in mind, guys, when you are involved in an accident, you have a lot of time to file your claim.
Yeah,
So if you are at the scene of the accident and you're a little bit flustered and you're not quite sure what to do, yes, it is absolutely okay to call your agent, but you do not need to take another 10, 15 minutes and stay focused and open the claim, guys. Like call us the next day, call us a couple
sure.
days
Yeah.
later when things kind of calm down. Especially if you're involved in a more serious accident and you're hurt,
Hmm.
you got like 2 years to file your claim.
Right,
Um,
right. Yeah.
so now we recommend you do it sooner rather than later, of
Sure.
course, I just don't feel like you have to do it at the time of at the
Immediately.
scene of the
Right.
accident, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When it's, like, raining outside or it's 100-degree outside. Don't do that, guys. Your agents are there for you, I promise you, especially if you insure with a more reputable company. The claim department is there 24/7. you can talk to someone at
You can
any
do that
time
later. Yeah.
at your own leisure. Okay,
Yeah.
that's just remember that.
And you made a
And then
good point, Tanya. I wanted to comment on as well about, whether you're injured or not. And just realize, folks, that, the day of, you may say, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. But there's a lot of adrenaline pumping in your body at that point, and you may feel, sore later. And, oh, well, maybe that really did come from the accident. That's still okay as well. You're still welcome and within your right, of course, to seek medical treatment and include that as part of the claim.
absolutely, absolutely. And the other part that I want to touch on that Christy mentioned, if the claim is, if the accident clearly was not your fault, um, you want to file with their insurance also because in some states, guys, in some states, non-fault accident on your record would count against you as
Yeah.
well. Not so much affecting your rate, guys, but if you ever decide to switch insurance company, that
Mhm.
could be an
Yeah.
eligibility issue if there's
Mm.
too many non-fault accident on your record. I know it doesn't feel like it's a fair thing to do, but is with certain states, that is the requirement that come from the Department of Insurance.
That's a great
And
point. Yep.
and the carrier have no control over that, guys. They are regulated that way. That's the rule that's set for that state with that carrier. So just be mindful of that. Anytime you can avoid filing a claim on your own, especially when you're not at fault and it's not necessary, I would say don't do it.
Don't do it. Right.
Don't do it.
Right. Right.
Now, um, we share a lot of tips today, Christy, with our listener on helping them preparing for if they were to be involved in an accident and what to do. And we not only we were hoping that will make the process a little bit easier and smoother for you if you were to experience that. But we also want to bring to your attention that more and more out there today, there are car accident frauds that
Oh
are
yeah.
committed against the consumers, not so much against the insurance companies, guys, but against the consumer, right, Christy? We're seeing that
Right.
trend out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a scary situation. They might use any kind of intimidation factors to make you feel like you just need to pay them. Um, but being aware that it's something that can happen. You mentioned when we were talking earlier, Tanya, the incident where someone, backed into your customer, I think, right? Tell us about that
Yes.
story.
Yeah, so our customer had mentioned to us that they got into a small accident. No, nobody was hurt, but they were in traffic, like dead stop traffic, and the vehicle in front of our customer reversed and backed into our client's vehicle. So at the time of the accident, the young girl got out and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Here's my insurance information. I don't know. I'm just so sorry." However, our customer got a call yesterday from the girl's insurance company, and they deny liability.
Mhm.
Now, the person that reversed into my customer's vehicle is claiming that she was rear-ended
That they hit her.
by our
Yeah.
customer instead.
Yeah.
And guys, every time you rear end someone, it's automatically your fault. So that's an easy, quick way for people to change their mind about what
Mhm.
happened. And that's why earlier Chrissy stressed a lot about, you know, getting the police to come out, getting them to help you file a police report, whether at the
Mhm.
scene or over the phone. But you want to make sure you get your side of the story out there and
Yep.
also get a copy of that for your own record and make sure that it's reflecting truly what
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 happened?
really
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
um so people can change their story like that on a flip of a
It's
dime, guys.
unfortunate, but it happens. Yeah, for
It
sure.
does happen. And this happened to another customer of mine, Christy. We mentioned that you have up to 2 years to file your claim, right? Our customer got into a minor accident on her way to a customer appointment a few years ago. And so no one was hurt at the time. It was a little dark outside and she was in a hurry. So they just, there was no damage on the car, so they kind of went their own ways. No police was called. It was nothing. Well, 2 years later, she came back and she sued our customer, um, claiming injuries and mental anguish over the last 2 years. And she now also claimed that her young daughter was also in the car, and her daughter was also hurt and mentally affected by the
Mhm.
accident. Um, it is very unfortunate. The good thing is, though, our customer has enough liability coverage. So, based on what we're seeing going on with the lawsuit and the kind of injuries they're trying to claim, and hopefully that our client has enough liability coverage that it will cover that
Yeah.
claim.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, it's still something that is not pleasant, right? And someone is suing you, and someone is trying to go after what you work really hard for.
Yep.
And so in cases like that, Christy, now that we open this big can of worm about liability, what do you recommend? What if I don't know what liability is and how much I have? What do you
Yeah.
recommend?
Well, it's a shame that there are so many situations like this where people are, claiming things that just, maybe aren't true, right?
Mhm.
But um, so it is a fact of life these days that you might have to just protect, your belongings because, like you said, they're suing her now, so they're not coming after only what is in her insurance policy. They're coming after her savings, her home, her pension, her everything.
Mhm.
Um, so, I always recommend for people, make sure that you have enough liability coverage in your policy to protect those things, should the event arise that you need to have coverage like this, right? If you're driving, if you're a hardworking person, you've been very diligent about doing the right thing and, you're saving and you're trying to take care of your things and your family, make sure that you've got enough coverage to protect those assets that you're acquiring.
Mhm.
Minimum coverage in Tennessee is 25,000 per person, up to 50,000 per accident. That's not going to even come close, if someone claims that you injured them badly. So you
No,
you
ma'am.
really
Yep.
want to make sure that you have enough in the policy to protect the assets that you're acquiring. And kind of leave it at that with folks and let them decide then, so what is it? Is it, you know, 100, 300 in my auto policy, and I want an umbrella policy maybe even on
Mhm.
top of that, right?
Yeah. If you in the audience, if you want to figure out, how to pick the right liability limit for yourself and to better protect your family, we're going to drop the link down there. We have another episode that we dive into, how to make sure to pick the right liability that fits you, that's going to do what it's supposed to do for you in
Right.
the event you need to use your insurance. So, we'll make sure that link is below in our profile. And I'll share one last one. This actually is has been a trend in the last year, Christy. That I've been seeing people talking about this is a insurance claim that are fraudulent, that are being committed against our customers when they are renting a vehicle
This is so
uh,
scary, right?
when they are on vacation. So this has nothing to do with getting into a car accident when you're renting a vehicle, guys. This happens to somebody that was close to our family. She rented a vehicle from a company that I will not name because they are very big and they're
Yeah.
nationwide, very reputable. And I want you to also be clear that I don't believe is the company is actively doing this. This is more isolated to the locations that you might
Right.
be renting your car from, and maybe even isolated to the individual that are doing this to you. But my um, uh, the person we know rented a vehicle while they were on vacation, and the vehicle stalled and died. So that was returned to the rental company. They apologized. They gave her even a better car. Everything was fine. A month later, after she got back from vacation, she got a call from the insurance company, and the rental car company had filed a claim or a lawsuit against her for getting into a car accident and damaged their rental car.
And
So,
this was the first
Christy,
vehicle that she had actually turned in, right?
that's right. So imagine like how would you feel getting that call after you get back from your trip, right? Everything was fine. You thought everything was good and there was nothing, there's no accident. Everybody made it home in one piece, and then you're hit with this lawsuit.
Yeah, it's
So of
terrifying.
course, yeah, very terrifying. And guys, I want to share this with you because I want to make sure that it doesn't happen to you because, every one of us rent a car every now and then for business and
Sure.
personal reasons, right? Especially if we're out of town and or making a long trip, things like that. But the things that they were claiming with the insurance company were this person put in the wrong
Oh my
gas,
gosh.
not
Yeah.
not diesel and gasoline, but the wrong gas grade, like the regular versus the premium, which by
Right.
the way, I don't know how you can even tell that. And that's not in any rental agreement that they
Right.
make
No.
you put in premium gas, guy, by the way. If they do, make sure you read the contract, but most of them do not do that. And then also, they claim there were scratches on the bottom of the vehicle, the bottom of your car. Um, so the good news is, I want to share with you, the insurance company did not honor that claim, because there were other witnesses in the car with my, person at the time, and knowing that there was never any accident happen.
Right.
And so just be aware of that, but that took place over a course of 3, 4 weeks, and that was very stressful. That
Oh
was
yeah.
very scary. And if she didn't have an agent like me to call and talk her through the situation, she wouldn't know where she would be. So it's a scary time out there, guys. Especially if you are diligent with your finances and you work really hard to build up your asset, and or do all the right thing to keep your insurance rate low, right?
Yeah.
You don't want anyone to just come in and claim, fraudulent claims against you. It's not fair, and you don't want to be the one ending up paying for an accident you didn't cause that's going to raise
Yeah.
your rate for 3 years.
Yeah, for sure.
So now, guys, if you don't have an agent that you already love, that you're already working with, that can give you awesome advice and point you in the right direction, please don't be shy. Give Christy a call or give me a call. Our contact information is in the bio, and we'll be more than happy to
We
help you.
we'd love to.
So,
You
okay.
bet.
Christy, any last thoughts on car accidents today?
Be safe out there, everybody. Best
Absolutely.
situation is not to have one, but if you do, now you know what to do.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for tuning in with us, and until next time.
Bye.